The traffic accident had been perfectly planned. The ambulance came. Marcus was placed on a stretcher, taken to the hospital. Everyone looked at him as a genuinely injured patient. But as he lay on that stretcher, he was listening to the conversations around him. And what he had just heard was the kind of thing that should never be heard in any hospital. Marcus Stone lay on a stretcher at the emergency entrance of Johns Hopkins Hospital. His brown hair was disheveled, fake blood traces on his clean-shaven face, a neck brace around his neck. He had been registered under the identity John Miller, a 34-year-old traffic accident victim with memory loss. But in reality, he was one of the CIA's most talented agents. For the past 3 months, alarming intelligence had been coming in about patient disappearances at Johns Hopkins. Patients were entering but never leaving. Records showed discharged, but there was no departure footage on security cameras. For this operation, Marcus had spent weeks in preparation. Fake medical records created, insurance information fabricated, even the staged car accident meticulously planned. His cover had to be perfect. Any suspicious detail could mean death. Marcus kept his eyes closed while listening to his surroundings. The emergency room had normal hospital chaos, crying babies, worried families, rushing medical staff. But his trained ear caught abnormal details. "Is patient 247 ready?" asked a nurse in a low voice. "Transfer to OR 7. "Doctor?" "Kovac is waiting," replied another voice. OR 7. Marcus reviewed Johns Hopkins floor plan in his mental map. OR 7 didn't officially exist. Hospital blueprints only showed operating rooms from OR 1 to OR 6. A paramedic checked Marcus's pulse. Vitals stable, concussion suspected, possible internal bleeding. "Will this one also go to Oregon 7? Whispered another staff member. "Dr. Kovac will decide, but he looks like a perfect candidate. Young, healthy, organs intact." Perfect candidate for what? Marcus's alarm bells began ringing. The conversation confirmed his worst suspicions about this place. His stretcher began moving, pushed toward the elevator. Marcus slightly opened his eyes. 2 nurses, 1 orderly, all professional but with strange intensity in their eyes. Not normal, compassionate medical care, but something much darker and calculating. The elevator stopped on the 4th floor. According to the hospital directory, this was the cardiac surgery wing, but his stretcher was pushed in a different direction. A long, dimly lit corridor. A restricted area not shown on the hospital's official tours. The walls were sterile white, but there was something wrong with this section. No windows, no natural light, no family waiting areas. This wasn't a place designed for healing. It was designed for secrecy. "Dr. Kovac, patient 247 has arrived," a nurse said into the intercom. "Bring him to the prep room. Standard protocol. Run blood type immediately." Blood type for surgery made sense, but the urgency in the voice suggested something more sinister. The prep room had sterile white walls, surgical equipment, but the atmosphere was ominous. The difference, more isolated than a normal hospital room, appearing soundproof. Advanced monitoring equipment, but also restraints on the beds that seemed excessive for regular patients. A nurse began inserting an IV line into Marcus's arm. "This will help you relax, won't feel a thing." But thanks to CIA training, Marcus immediately and subtly clamped the IV, preventing any sedative from entering, still playing the unconscious role perfectly. "Anesthesia taking effect, he's under," the nurse said, giving a false reading. The door opened with an electronic buzz. A tall man in scrubs entered, presumably Dr. Kovac. But his medical manner wasn't professional, it was predatory. His movements were too confident, too casual for someone about to perform life-saving surgery. Excellent specimen. Young, healthy, perfect organ quality. The Tokyo buyer has already transferred full payment. Heart, liver, kidneys, complete harvest operation. Marcus's blood froze. Organ harvesting operation. Living patient's organs stolen, sold to international black market. This was worse than he had imagined. "Has this patient's family location been traced?" asked Dr. Kovacs, pulling on surgical gloves. "No family contact traced. Perfect disappearance case. The John Miller identity is completely fabricated. Whoever created it did professional work." They knew his cover was fake, but hadn't discovered his real identity yet. This was both an advantage and extreme danger. Dr. Kovacs began methodically preparing surgical instruments. "Let's begin immediately. Tokyo buyer is impatient, paying premium for fresh organs. Heart first, most valuable." Marcus observed the room layout through barely opened eyes. 3 exits, surgical tools within reach, security camera in corner. His training automatically calculated combat scenarios and escape routes. The casual way they discussed murdering him for organs sent cold rage through Marcus's body. How many innocent people had died on this table? Marcus made a split-second decision. His cover would be blown, but he had to save innocent lives. Suddenly, Marcus fully opened his eyes and jumped up from the stretcher with explosive movement. The surprised medical staff stepped backward, instruments clattering to the floor. "I'm not John Miller," said Marcus, now with full confident CIA agent voice, all pretense abandoned. "I'm CIA, Agent Marcus Stone." Dr. Kovacs was shocked, but quickly recovered, reaching for the alarm button. "Security, intruder in OR prep." 3 armed guards rushed into the prep room within seconds. Marcus immediately made a tactical assessment. Confined space, 3 armed hostiles, surgical instruments available as improvised weapons, innocent staff who might be coerced. The first guard lunged at Marcus with an extendable baton. Marcus grabbed a surgical tray, swinging the full metal tray powerfully at the guard's head. The guard fell backward, stunned, blood streaming from his forehead. The second guard tried to draw his gun, but Marcus grabbed a scalpel with lightning speed, making a precise defensive cut to the guard's gun hand. The gun dropped, the guard writhing on the ground in pain, clutching his wounded wrist. The third guard tried to tackle Marcus with full-body force. Marcus used an IV stand as a weapon, driving the metal pole into the guard's solar plexus, then followed with an uppercut that knocked the guard unconscious. Dr. Kovacs tried to escape to the emergency exit, but Marcus blocked him at the door with athletic precision. "How many patients have you murdered?" Marcus demanded, grabbing Dr. Kovacs by his scrubs. "I don't know what you're talking about. This is a medical procedure." Marcus pressed a scalpel to Dr. Kovacs' throat, eyes blazing with controlled fury. "Wrong answer. I know what you're doing here." Okay, dozens, maybe 50 patients over 6 months. But they were nobodies, homeless, unidentified, people no one would miss. "Every life matters," said Marcus through gritted teeth. "Where are the bodies?" "Disposed. Medical incinerator in basement level. Look, we can make a deal." Marcus's jaw clenched. 50 innocent people murdered for organ harvesting. The scale of this operation was massive. Suddenly, an alarm started blaring throughout the hospital. Hospital-wide emergency lockdown. Dr. Kovacs had made a backup call before Marcus could stop him. Marcus rushed from the prep room to the corridor. The hospital was no longer a normal medical facility but transformed into a war zone. More armed guards were approaching from both directions. This was bigger than just medical staff. This was an organized crime syndicate. Marcus rapidly evaluated available options. Running to the stairwell, but guards intercepted from upper floors. Hand-to-hand combat was unavoidable in the narrow corridor. 5 heavily armed guards surrounded Marcus at the corridor intersection. Marcus strategically used hospital equipment. He threw a wheelchair at the first guard with force, used a defibrillator on the second guard. The electric shock dropped him instantly, blinded the third guard with chemical spray from a fire extinguisher. The remaining 2 guards launched a coordinated professional attack. These weren't just hospital security, they were trained operatives. Marcus grabbed an IV pole, his extensive martial arts training kicking in. In one fluid motion, he disarmed both guards with pressure point techniques and knocked them unconscious with precise strikes. Marcus rushed to the stairwell, breathing hard but adrenaline pumping, but suddenly stopped at a horrifying sound. Voices from upstairs, more victims being prepared for immediate surgery before authorities could arrive. Moral dilemma. He could escape, call backup, let the FBI handle this. But right now upstairs, innocent people were dying, organs being harvested while they were still alive. Marcus made his decision without hesitation. He charged upstairs, taking steps 3 at a time. When he entered Oregon 7, he witnessed an absolutely horrific scene. 3 patients on surgery tables unconscious, organs actively being removed, all still alive, heart monitors beeping weakly. "Stop this butchery!" Marcus shouted, bursting into the room. Dr. Kovac and the surgical team were shocked. "Impossible! Security should have stopped you." "Your security failed," said Marcus grimly, surveying the carnage. "Just like your humanity." There were 6 people in the room. Dr. Kovac, 3 surgeons, 2 nurses. Marcus immediately triaged. Save the patients first, then handle the criminals decisively. Marcus advanced on the surgical team with controlled fury. The first surgeon made a desperate swipe at Marcus with a scalpel, but Marcus's professional training kicked in. He grabbed the surgeon's wrist, applied a joint lock, twisted until bones cracked. The surgeon collapsed to the floor, screaming. The second surgeon tried to press an anesthesia mask to Marcus's face. Marcus struck the surgeon's ribs with an elbow strike, cracking them with an audible snap. The surgeon staggered backward, gasping. Dr. Kovac pulled a gun from his surgical coat. "You've destroyed months of work, millions in revenue." Marcus grabbed a surgical light, swinging the heavy metal fixture at Dr. Kovac. The gun fired but missed, the bullet embedding in the wall. Marcus tackled Dr. Kovac, both crashing to the floor in violent struggle. A wrestling match began on the blood-stained floor. Dr. Kovac was surprisingly strong but desperate, but Marcus's professional combat training was completely dominant. A series of precise strikes to pressure points. A final knockout punch dropped Dr. Kovac unconscious. Marcus immediately rushed to the patients, his medical emergency training taking over. First patient, a young woman, early 20s, kidney partially removed but still savable if acted upon quickly. "Stay with me, you're going to be okay," said Marcus gently, applying pressure to stop bleeding, his voice soft despite the violent scene around them. "Help is coming." Second patient, an elderly man, liver surgery interrupted partway. Vital signs dangerously weak, but still stabilizable with proper care. Third patient, a teenage boy, heart surgery hadn't started yet. Scared, conscious, tears in his eyes. "Please, don't let me die," whispered the teenager. "You're not going to die," said Marcus firmly, checking the boy's vitals. "I promise." Marcus's extensive medical emergency training kicked in. bleeding controlled, pressure applied, vitals stabilized, patients comforted with genuine compassion. Hospital security and legitimate authorities finally arrived. FBI tactical team, police, SWAT, paramedics. Marcus's emergency backup call had been successful. FBI agent Sarah Chen entered the room, weapon drawn, then witnessed the scene. Jesus Christ, Marcus. What the hell happened here? Systematic organ harvesting operation. Dozens of victims over months. These 3 patients still have a fighting chance if we act now. Paramedics immediately prepared the patients for emergency transfer to a legitimate trauma hospital. The young woman weakly grabbed Marcus's hand. You saved my life," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Just doing what's right," said Marcus softly, squeezing her hand reassuringly. The elderly man regained consciousness. "Who are you, son?" "Someone who gives a damn," said Marcus simply. The teenage boy's parents arrived, absolutely hysterical. "My son! Oh God, is he alive?" "He's going to make a full recovery," Marcus assured them confidently. "Surgery was stopped in time." The mother hugged Marcus tightly, sobbing, thank you so much. You saved my baby." Marcus felt emotion swell, but maintained his professional demeanor, though clearly moved. FBI agent Chen approached Marcus. "Preliminary count, how many victims total?" Dr. Kovac confessed 50 victims over 6 months. Bodies cremated in basement incinerator to destroy evidence. 50 families finally getting closure and justice, said Chen grimly. Hours later, the extensive operation concluded. The entire organ harvesting ring was arrested. Dr. Kovac, surgical team, corrupt hospital administrators, security personnel, all in federal custody. Marcus was exiting the hospital, physically exhausted but emotionally satisfied. Mission successful, lives saved, justice served. The young woman being discharged spotted Marcus. "Wait," she called, approaching with a grateful smile. Marcus stopped. "I never got your real name," she said. "Marcus Stone," he said, showing a genuine, slight smile. "I'm Emily Rodriguez. Because of you, I get to see my daughter grow up. I get to live, to love, to dream again." Marcus nodded, genuinely touched. "That's what makes this worthwhile?" Emily hugged him tightly. "You're not just an agent, you're a guardian angel." "Just someone who couldn't stand by," said Marcus humbly. FBI agent Chen approached Marcus for final debrief. "Media wants exclusive interview. National hero story." "No media," said Marcus firmly. "Families deserve privacy to heal. Case stays quiet." "Marcus, you saved dozens of lives tonight, exposed major criminal operation. Don't you want recognition?" Marcus looked back at the hospital, families reuniting, patients recovering, justice being served. "Recognition isn't why I chose this life." Driving away in his car, Marcus's phone buzzed. Message: "Next assignment, Manhattan Art Gallery. International conspiracy. Immediate deployment required." Marcus smiled slightly. Exhaustion replaced by renewed purpose. One mission ended, another beginning. But tonight, 50 families had closure. 3 patients would see tomorrow. And sometimes, being the guardian in the shadows was reward enough for any agent. Johns Hopkins was fading in the rearview mirror, but the memory of lives saved would remain permanent. Marcus Stone's work never ended, but moments like these, when justice prevailed and innocence lived, made every risk, every sacrifice, every danger absolutely worthwhile.